Ladies, I want to talk to you today about something that hits deep. Why do men hurt the women who love them? Now listen, I'm not here to bash all men. I'm a man myself and I know we're not all the same. But I've seen too many good women get broken by men who didn't know how to treat love when it walked right into their lives. And sometimes the hardest pill to swallow is this. Some men don't hurt you because they don't love you. They hurt you because they don't love themselves. You know, one of the hardest things to watch is a good woman loving a man who doesn't know how to love her back. And I'm not talking about surface love. I mean the deep kind. The kind of love where she's riding for him, praying for him, believing in him when nobody else does. And yet, that same man ends up being the one who breaks her. Now, that might not make sense to some people, but let me tell you something I've learned over the years. Wounded men wound others. See, some men are walking around carrying emotional baggage that they've never unpacked. Stuff from their childhood, stuff from past relationships, rejection, abandonment, being told they ain't never going to be enough. And instead of healing from that, instead of facing that pain and working through it, they bury it deep. And then what happens? That pain leaks out on the people who are the closest to them, especially the ones who love them the most. It's like this. If a man is bleeding internally from wounds he's never addressed, he's going to bleed on anybody who tries to get close. And 9 times out of 10, that ends up being the woman who loves him. She gets caught in the crossfire of battles that ain't even hers. He might lash out, withdraw, or even cheat. Not because she did something wrong, but because he doesn't know how to handle someone treating him right. Her love feels too pure, too good, and that scares him. He's been living in dysfunction so long, peace feels like a setup. Ladies, let me make something clear to you right now. When a man hasn't done the work to heal, he's going to hurt people by default. Not always on purpose. Sometimes he doesn't even realize he's doing it. But that's not an excuse. It's a reality. Love can't save a man who doesn't want to be saved. You can't patch a leaking heart with your own soul. And you surely can't pour into somebody who's got holes all in their spirit and refuses to patch them up. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Steve, I see potential in him. I know he's better than this. And listen, I'm not saying you're wrong. Potential is real. But don't let a man's potential drain your purpose. Potential means nothing if he's not willing to grow into it. If he won't face his demons, if he won't take responsibility for his pain, if he won't seek help or do better, then what he's doing is choosing to let his brokenness hurt you. And love, real love, doesn't come with that kind of destruction. You know what else I've seen? Some men feel unworthy of the love they're getting. And when a man doesn't feel worthy, he'll sabotage the relationship before you have a chance to see him for who he really is. He's scared that if you really knew him, the insecure, ashamed, fearful version of him, you'd leave. So he tries to beat you to it, pushes you away, does things that make no sense. And before you know it, you're left wondering, why did he do this to me? But baby, it was never about you. It was about his war within. And for the brothers out there, if you're listening, I'm talking to you too. You don't have to stay stuck in the same cycle of pain. You don't have to let your past define your present. There's no shame in saying I'm hurting. There's no weakness in going to therapy and being vulnerable and admitting you need help. That's strength. That's growth. That's manhood. A real man doesn't hurt a woman just because he's hurting. A real man protects her. He cherishes the love he's given and grows into the kind of man who deserves it. So let's stop pretending that being broken is normal. Let's stop acting like it's okay to destroy a good woman just because you don't know how to love. Healing isn't just an option. It's a responsibility. Because when you hurt someone who loves you, you not only break their heart, you damage your own soul in the process. And some losses you don't get back. Let me tell y'all something that's real uncomfortable for a lot of men to admit. We're scared. Yeah, I said it, scared. Now, I'm not talking about scared of snakes or heights. I'm talking about scared of something way deeper, vulnerability. That word alone makes some men flinch. Because opening up, letting someone in, that feels dangerous to a man who's been taught his whole life that showing emotions makes him weak. See, we were raised to believe that crying is soft, that talking about our feelings is for women, that if you're a man, you deal with things by shutting up and moving on. But let me tell you what happens when you grow up believing that. You become a man who doesn't know how to handle love, a man who confuses vulnerability with weakness. So when a good woman comes into your life, when she loves you openly, when she sees through your tough exterior, when she challenges you to open up, you panic. You don't know what to do with that kind of love. It feels too real, too raw, too exposed, because now you've got someone looking past the image you've built, the mask you wear, and seeing the real you underneath. And the truth is, a lot of men ain't ready for that. We say we want love, but when it shows up and requires us to be open, honest, accountable, we run. Or worse, we hurt the very woman who's just trying to love us. I've seen it over and over again. A woman says, talk to me, tell me what's wrong. And the man, he shuts down. Or he gets angry, not because he hates her, but because he's terrified. Terrified that if he opens up, she might not like what she hears. Terrified that if he shows his real feelings, she might use it against him. That fear is powerful. And instead of saying, I'm scared, he acts out. He pushes her away. He cheats. He lies. He disappears emotionally. And ladies, I want you to understand something. It's not your fault. His fear is not your burden to carry. You didn't create his wounds, and you can't force him to heal. You might be the safest space he's ever had. But if he doesn't trust that space, if he hasn't dealt with his own trauma, he'll treat your love like a threat, like a trap. Because real intimacy requires courage. And if a man hasn't learned how to be emotionally courageous, love will feel like a battlefield instead of a blessing. Now, fellas, let me talk to you. If you're hearing this, I need you to understand. Being vulnerable isn't weak, it's strong as hell. It takes more guts to say, I'm struggling, than it does to stay silent. It takes more strength to say, I love you and I'm scared, than it does to pretend like you don't care. Stop letting fear rob you of real love. Stop pushing away good women just because you're afraid to be seen fully. You want a woman to trust you, then you got to be willing to trust her with the real you. Not just a provider, not just a protector, but the man, the human, the one with fears, dreams, doubts, and emotions. Because the truth is, you can't build a real relationship on half-truths and emotional walls. That's not a partnership. That's a performance. And eventually, even the strongest woman gets tired of clapping for a man who's afraid to show up as himself. So let's stop hiding. Let's stop pretending. Love requires vulnerability. And vulnerability, that's the real test of strength. You know, one of the biggest problems I see with relationships today is how society has completely twisted what it means to be a man. From the time we little boys, the world is already training us, conditioning us to believe that being a man means you got to be hard, cold, tough, and emotionally distant. We get told things like, man up, don't cry, act like a man. And so we grow up learning to suppress, to hold everything in, to never show weakness. That's what's been fed to us for generations. But let me tell you something right now. That version of masculinity, that misunderstood idea of what a man is, that's killing our ability to love properly. A lot of brothers out here ain't heartless. They're not incapable of love. They're just emotionally underdeveloped. Because somewhere along the way we were taught that love is feminine, that tenderness makes you soft, that expressing feelings makes you less of a man. So now you got grown men walking around trying to love women with locked up hearts, closed mouths, and bottled up pain. And when a woman says, I need you to open up, they don't even know what that means. They confuse control with leadership, silence with strength, and domination with love. Let me break this down. Real manhood ain't about how cold you can be. It's about how accountable, protective, and emotionally present you are. But see, a man who's been raised to equate masculinity with power and dominance, he's going to struggle when he meets a woman who wants partnership. Because in his mind, he's supposed to lead, control, provide, and she's supposed to follow quietly. That's what the world told him. But when he meets a woman who challenges him, who holds him to a higher standard, who says, no, we're equals, that confuses him. That threatens his version of manhood. And that's when the problems begin. He starts mistaking her strength for attitude. Her independence becomes disrespect. Her emotional needs start feeling like attacks. But what's really happening is that his outdated view of manhood is being challenged. And he doesn't have the tools to evolve, so what does he do? He shuts down. Or worse, he strikes out. He starts hurting the very woman who's trying to love him because he doesn't know how to meet her in that space of emotional maturity. You ever heard a man say, I don't do feelings? That's not masculinity. That's emotional avoidance. That's fear dressed up as strength. And I get it. It's hard because we were trained to believe that being a provider was enough. But I'm here to tell you, that's the bare minimum. A real man doesn't just bring money to the table. He brings honesty, presence, humility, vulnerability, and leadership built on love, not fear. And ladies, I know you've dealt with men who seem emotionally unavailable, emotionally shut down. It's not because you weren't worthy of love, it's because they never learned how to give it. They were told love was a transaction. You cook, he provides. You submit, he protects. But that's not love, that's a contract. And love doesn't survive in contracts. It grows in connection. Men need to understand that strength isn't in how much you can suppress, it's in how much you can express with responsibility. Real strength is being able to say, I was wrong. Real masculinity is being able to sit in a conversation without feeling attacked. It's being able to listen without defending your ego. That's manhood. And if you haven't been taught that, it's time to unlearn what the world fed you. Now, fellas, listen to me close. It's okay to love out loud. It's okay to need her. It's okay to cry. There is no shame in being human. The women in your life aren't asking you to stop being a man. They're asking you to be a whole man. Not just muscle and money, but mind and heart too. And if you really wanted to keep a woman, if you really wanted to lead your family, if you really want peace in your home, start by challenging the version of masculinity you've been handed, because that version is outdated. And it's hurting the very people who are trying to love you. Manhood isn't a performance. It's a purpose. And when you finally step into real masculinity, the kind built on love, not fear, you'll stop hurting the women who love you and start becoming the man they can trust with their hearts. Let's go ahead and talk about something a lot of men don't want to hear. Accountability. Yeah, that word right there makes some fellas uncomfortable. But let me tell you something. The reason so many men hurt women who love them is because they don't take responsibility for their actions. They dodge it. They blame others. They make excuses. And the truth is, you can't love anybody right if you're not willing to hold yourself accountable when you get it wrong. It's easy to say she's too emotional, or she's always complaining, or she's never satisfied. But what that really is a deflection. A man who doesn't want to face his own mess will always point the finger. It's easier to make the woman seem like the problem than to admit, I didn't show up for her the way I should have. That's ego, that's pride, and pride is one of the fastest ways to destroy a relationship. I've seen it over and over again. A good woman trying her best to make it work, communicating, being patient, offering grace, and the man just keeps sweeping his behavior under the rug like it don't matter. He cheats and says, it didn't mean anything. He lies and says, I was trying to protect you. He shuts down emotionally and says, that's just how I am. No, man, that's not how you are. That's how you choose to be when you're avoiding growth. See, growth starts where excuses end. But let's keep it real. Some men were never taught how to be accountable. They grew up watching other men avoid consequences, mistreat women, lie, walk out and never apologize. And so now they think that's normal. But just because something is common doesn't mean it's right. Accountability is the difference between a boy and a man. A boy blames, a man reflects. A boy avoids, a man confronts. A boy runs, a man repairs. Ladies, listen to me. If a man cannot look you in the eye and take ownership of how he's made you feel, if he can't say, I was wrong, I hurt you, I need to do better, then he's not ready to love you the way you deserve. Don't confuse potential with character. Just because he's charming, talented, or says all the right things doesn't mean he's grown enough to protect your heart. Fellas, it's time we stop hiding behind our past, our pain, and our pride. You messed up, own it. You hurt her, apologize. You broke her trust, work every day to rebuild it. That's what being a man is about. It ain't about never making mistakes. It's about how you respond when you do. Because a woman will forgive you if she sees you trying, if she sees you humbled, if she sees you taking the steps. But what she won't tolerate forever is a man who keeps hurting her and acting like it's her fault. Let me tell you what accountability does. It builds trust. It restores respect. It shows her that you care more about doing right by her than protecting your ego. And once you start living like that, you'll be amazed how much peace you find in your relationship. Because now it's not about power struggles or playing games. It's about partnership. Real love grows when both people can say, I'm not perfect, but I'm willing to grow. So to every man hearing this, look in the mirror, not just to fix your tie or adjust your beard. Look in the mirror to ask yourself, did I love her right today? Did I show up fully? Did I handle her heart with care? And if the answer is no, don't run from it, own it, fix it. That's what a real man does. That's what love requires.